Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Game Hub. I am your host GamerK, and it's time for the final video of April. And it's time for another retro game review, and oh boy! I love card games. Trading card games, more to be precise. Ever since I was a kid, Yu-Gi-Oh! And when I got into college, Cardfight Vanguard became the main games I would play. Also, the card games Chaotic for a while when it was popular. And basically what we see here, a lot of people would be considering this game and the card game Diet Magic the Gathering. So, I played a good majority of card game video games, and it's basically the same thing, going through the events of the show, and basically just playing card games with the characters, and it's fun, but I mean, you know the story, so it's kind of a little boring once in a while. And there's never really been a really good one for a good number of years. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Had the first ones for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. Unfortunately, after a while, they kind of made their own rules and threw a couple things here and there. And the only good ones were the ones on PlayStation where the 3D animation was put to good use. It wasn't until 2004 where Duel Masters, the video game, or Duel Masters Cobalt, as it was dubbed in Japan, it was called in Japan, graced the video game world. And I gotta admit, I can't even believe I still have this game, and I still like it. So basically, Duel Masters is basically Magic the Gathering. In order to play your cards, you need to charge mana and use it to summon creatures and use spells. They got rid of trap cards from this because that's Yu-Gi-Oh's shtick. Now I'm going to show you the case because this was a limited edition game. It came with a free booster pack. It was developed by Atari, and let's see who else. High Voltage Software, Wizard, D-Max, and licensed by Hasbro. So if you look on the cover, you can see a cool, striking image of Bull Shock Dragon on the top. And flipping over, we got Mighty Shouter. And oddly enough, Shobu from the anime is on there, even though he's nowhere in the main story, except for in arcade mode when you win 100 matches in arcade mode. So don't know why he was on here when he's not even in the main game. So, if he's not in the main game, what's the story about? And actually, yeah, it's not just the series. Actually, if for anyone who even remembers Duel Masters, the TV show, not Rise of the Duel Masters, that sucked and it took all the fun out of the card game. And then they brought those cards into the card game, which didn't really make sense because it wasn't a card game in the show. It was just summoning creatures. And you get what I'm saying. But the game starts off, and anyone who remembers the original Duel Masters, it had its own kind of charm to it. You know, using pop culture references, fourth wall breaking, and they kind of know that they're a TV show. And it's kind of weird for a show like that. It's very, very, very fun and awkward. But enough about the show. Let's get to the game. So the game, for a card game, video game, it's pretty well done. The story lasts about 7 hours, depending if how good you are and how long you lose at the main missions. So again, those who remember the story, remember Knight, that really slick looking player who always wore sunglasses? He was one of my favorite characters because he was so cool, so awesome looking. He was like Seto Kaiba if Seto Kaiba was an adult. So the main story is Knight is stopping this woman named Widow from doing a certain ceremony with her cronies in order to unlock the 5 new creatures that are going to become cards. Unfortunately, as always in an anime or a video game or whatever, if you try to skip through a process of an ancient ritual, some things are going to screw up. So the 5 creatures from the 5 civilizations, fire, water, nature, light, and darkness, they kind of escaped, and their card split into 9 pieces each. So just on that, you can kind of guess where this whole thing is going, right? No? Let me explain. So for each civilization, there's a monk. And I'm not talking about, what's his name? Tony Shalhoub from Monk. Not that kind of monk. An actual, that kind of monk. I'm not sure what they chant. I'm just trying to show you a picture of stuff. So they tell Knight that they need 5 people in order to find each card piece from the civilization. So goes to a high school where we meet our 5 main characters. And yeah, why is it in anime when usually whenever there's a actually, now that I think about it, it's only in this. Anytime someone uses a certain civilization, either their hair is that color or they have all clothing on. Yeah, it's easy to tell what civilization each character is supposed to be just by looking at their outfits and everything, which I kind of like. It gives a certain aesthetic to the show. So Knight meets with the 5 main characters, and I'll get to them in a minute, telling them about what's going on, and enters the tutorial for people who don't know how to play Duel Masters. It's fairly easy. So after that, we get a small 2D cutscene going on where Knight explains to all 5 of them. And then at the beginning of each of their stories, we get that same 2D animation cutscene. Unfortunately, then it goes into this 3D cutscene, and we never ever see the 2D cutscenes ever again until the end. So that's one thing I don't like. The 2D cutscenes, I wish there was more of them, because I wish the entire thing was that. And then the 3D animation was just for the dueling. That's awesome. And so basically, yeah, the 3D animation, what they do for when you're playing the cards game, the monsters look just like the cards, and they each have their own 2 attack animations and their own death animation, which really, it's really cool seeing each one. And there are 5 different battlefields, a volcanic wasteland for fire, a very futuristic stadium for light, under the sea. Okay, that joke's run its course for water, a forest for nature, and a kind of creepy cemetery for darkness, which I love. I love each one. And depending on what main attribute your opponent is when you're fighting them, you'll be transported to one of these. And I love that, how they did that. So I'm going to be going over each story. But before I do that, I'm going to get through the main parts of the... So I'm glad, like I said, that they created their own story within the world of Duel Masters a little bit. They made their own characters, except for Knight, because you can't have Duel Masters without Knight. He's like, other than Shobu, he's the poster child. If you say Duel Masters, you'll probably remember the name Knight for some reason, and it's just awesome. So that's what I like about it, how they did an original story with original characters. I mean, think about it. When was the last time Yu-Gi-Oh! Did an original story? And I'm starting to think of Capsule Monsters, and oh dear God, can we not think about that anime ever again? Although the video game was really good, and I'll definitely be reviewing that one day. So, for the cards, in most card game video games, they usually go with certain card sets to put into the game. This one does card sets from set 1 and set 2 from the original card game. They take out a certain number of cards, which suck, because I would have loved to see a good number of these cards in the game. Also, for those who know Duel Masters, for evolution creatures, yeah, we get 2 evolutions per civilization, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, I don't know if it was the restraint of the animations or how much cards they could actually put in, but it's okay. I mean, they put a fair amount. They put 139 cards into the game, so I gotta admit, that's pretty good. I mean, yeah, when the game came out, Duel Masters was just starting, so they only had the 2 sets to work with. So at least they got some of the good cards in there. I mean, the main ones are in there, so I'm happy. And let's see, 100 creature animations. The spells don't really have their own. I mean, they all have their unique effects, but no real animation for each one. Just the creatures, which I love. The creature animations are beautifully done, and they look exactly like the card, so I'm happy about that. The animation is spot on for that. I don't like, however, there's a little cheat code, and I'm glad I never found it, where you can delete your opponent's shields and win easy. I hate that. I hate cheat codes when it comes to that, because if I'm going to play a game, I'm going to play a game fully. I'm not going to cheat my way through it. So, let's see. Who should we start with of the 5 civilizations? You know what? I'm going to go from my least favorite character story to my most favorite. I'm going to do that. Which, ironically, is, in my personal opinion, Trey, who's the nature civilization player. Oh, he's my favorite character, but he has the weakest story. It's, well, rules of nature. Oh God, I need to stop making these jokes. So basically, Trey has a rival. So with each main character, there is a corresponding villain who only uses that pure civilization. So there's a pure darkness user, fire, and so on, so on. Also, the plane, and when they come up, I will explain them. The main fire and nature users are easier to beat because nature and fire have no blockers whatsoever. So anyway, Trey has a rivalry going with the darkness player, Marcus, who you can tell he's a darkness user. Purple spiky hair, visor on, and clothing that would make him look like in an S&M video. I don't know why I'm saying that in a kid's card game, but what the hell? So he loses, and he keeps losing to Marcus. And then everyone laughs at him. And then it starts to rain on his parade. Literally, he gets hit in the head with an acorn, and then a squirrel takes the acorn. Nothing really big. So Trey is going around. You know, in each story, you will fight certain characters to progress through the story. And you can also play with the generic characters that are in each location. The locations, I gotta say, the way they do the map is kind of like a point-and-click adventure, but less point-and-click and just more playing the game. No puzzles, nothing like that. Sorry, I'm feeling a little groggy today. So basically, all the locations are on this map, and there is a quest menu, so if you don't know what to do, it'll tell you where to go. The map consists of a good number of locations: the park, the school, the stadium hall, the restaurant, the card shop, the power plant for some reason, the museum, the library, the junkyard, and a nature reserve. Okay. So after a couple battles, you go to Marcus and you fight. And then if you are winning or losing, the game will immediately stop, and Knight stops the fight, so he wants to talk to you. You go to the nature reserve, fight the monk, and then you're kind of banished because Trey is kind of a hot shot. Ironic, because he uses the nature civilization. So he's kicked out of the nature reserve, which is where the nature clan, where the nature civilization players go most of the time. And then he's kicked out for his bad-mouthing. And I love it. I love his rebellious side. By the way, every single character other than the fire player is a teenager during the game. So Trey talks to the other players, Flynn, who's the darkness user, Luke, the light, and Rebecca, the water. And they kind of tell him about what he has to do, to collect the 9 creature pieces, because he yelled at the monk and didn't get a chance to learn about that. I love the interactions with each character. I love it. So yeah, each character has their own way of collecting all 9 pieces. Trey has to do a certain number of things, such as defeat Earl, the nature user, in order to get a card from a guy. Chuck, the card shop owner, tells him he loaned cards to 3 brothers, and for each one you defeat, you will get a piece. And the brothers have a specific rule, and it's kind of fun because you have to edit your deck in order to fit. So 1, you only play 3 shields, 1, no evolution creatures, 1, no double breakers. I know none of this is making any sense to people who've never played the game, but it's a kind of a play style a bit. Then you fight Knight afterwards, and then you get to pick a super rare nature creature to beef up your deck, which I love. Every character halfway gets to pick a rare creature in order to add to their deck. Although if you after you play certain people, you will get certain cards, and you can adjust your deck to fit whatever style you want. Afterwards, you find you find a good half of the pieces, and then you fight Earl for the rest of them. Along the way, Marcus says he's not going to fight you again because, after defeating the monk for the second time, you go to the creature's world, and it's this guerrilla warrior thing. It looks like Rambo with a Rambo gorilla. John! Anyone remember that? He's a gorilla, not a god. Come on, comrades. He's a gorilla, not a god. Yes, I'm going to be making jokes for every single one, hopefully. So, the gorilla monster will not fight you unless you conquer what's like your biggest competition. So you go back, you challenge Marcus, and you're going to give him all your pieces if he wins. You beat him, you go fight the gorilla, and he says that you were a child, now I will fight you. And then after all this, you can duel anyone you want, make adjustments to your deck, and then go to the tournament hall to finish the story. Even though I like the nature civilization and I like Trey respectively, the story is the shortest one out of all of them. I mean, to be fair, all of them are short if you're really good and you win all the main stories. Let's talk about the second one, Rusty, who's 10 years old. He's the fire civilization user, and he's the younger brother of Trey. You can just tell because they look so much alike. You can't. You really can't. So Knight finds Rusty and tells him to get better, and Rusty is a young guy, so is the young kid, so he believes that stronger cards mean everything in a game. And Marcus, the villain of the darkness user, kind of plays into that by getting him to join their side a little bit by giving him better cards. And they actually are better because in the first time you fight him, if you win, you get a super rare card that's powerful beyond all belief. And if you definitely want to win that battle in order to get it because it's going to make your fight style a little bit better. Then after fighting the fire monk in the junkyard, yeah, the fire users are in the junkyard. Who would have thought? Well, at least it's better than... Oh, wait, what is better for fire? Arsonists? Never mind. So you fight you fight a lot of people, and you have words with your brother in one part. And then, what am I trying to say? After fighting a little bit, after you collect a good number of the creature pieces, Marcus wants to take them off your hand in order to, you know, make you join his side. He's going to give you better cards for the crappy pieces. And that's when Rusty kind of figures out that he was just using him, and then he makes up with his brother and they have a duel. And I'm going to say Rusty's the only one with a side mission available, where this guy wants a Xeno Mantis card, but you don't have one because it's a nature card. And he's got a Gatling Sky Terror for you, which is a really good card. So you will have to find certain players and beat certain players in order to collect the cards and then trade the cards in order to get that card. He's the only one with a side mission like that. I think each character should have had like their own, I mean, not like trading side mission, but a side mission nonetheless. It would have made the game a little bit more interesting instead of just doing the main story. Like, give one side mission to each character. That would have been cool. So after he defeats the monk, technically first he has to defeat Caitlyn, the fire user, who has a short temper. And that is very shown in her losing animation. Yeah, every single character has a win animation and a lose animation, which I love. But after you do that, we go into the fire realm and we see this Nordic Viking android motorcycle or unicycle. Give the people creative for this game. They definitely know how to come up with original monsters. You beat them and adjust your deck. So after you beat the monster, after you beat the creature, they become bound to the card and you can use them. So after that, fix your deck, go to the tournament hall, and end of the story. Next up is Rebecca, the water user. Incoming plot convenience, the villain of this whole thing, Widow, is her aunt. Plot convenience. And basically the game starts off with her and Luke, the light player, having a date to duel. Even though in the animations and the dialogue, you can kind of tell that she likes him. I'll get to that much later. So Rebecca starts to play, and the water user of the villains, Jalen, is irritating as hell, calling her the wrong name. It's always a good laugh. It's always fun. There's one part where when she's collecting the card pieces, she duels his twin sister Sarah, the light user, and basically, if she wins, Jalen talks the person who has the card piece to give it to him. Sneaky siblings. Seriously, like, anyone remember Codename Kids Next Door? Remember the delightful children from down the lane? These two twins act like they do, and it's creepy as hell. So, kind of Rebecca's story is finding out more about the temple and the ceremony. Because water users are all about knowledge, because I don't know why, that's just how they are. Which is why the water base is at the library. That actually makes a lot of sense. Knowledge, library. Makes perfect sense. And you get to fight the Widow after a bit. Now, and then after you defeat Knight, and you get to pick your legendary, he has something to tell you about your aunt. And it turns out Rebecca figured it out the entire time. And just seeing Monk and the Knight's mouths drop by this, it's just good fun. I like how they do little stupid things like that in this game. It just makes it funny. After a while, Rebecca joins a tournament where a card piece is up for grabs, and she fights Jalen, and it's just fun. Then she's contemplated about whether to go against her aunt because she taught her how to play. Luke encourages her that she's the one who did all the work, adjusting her deck, so all that credit can't go to her aunt. Then she confronts the aunt in the most anime way ever by basically telling her off. Then afterwards you fight Jalen, and he's showing a little bit of being nice to her, considering Widow is unhappy with his work, so he wants to end it right now. All of his pieces for all of ours. And then she fights the water creature, which is this whale with horns, and it looks like a whale and a shark, and it just looks so cool, and his voice is hilarious. The voice is hilarious. So again, beat the creature, adjust your deck, go to the tournament hall. My second favorite story is Flynn the Darkness User. He works at a supermarket where he has to wear an apron. And Flynn is this badass looking character. Wears a black shirt with kind of the back of a skeleton bone on the back. He has tattoos. Thank you for having an actual character look like a legitimate teenager. I mean, yeah, he's the Darkness User, so that's kind of punk a bit, but he's a nice guy. While at work, one of the Widow's soldiers, Source. He has kind of an army helmet and a mask covering his face because he looks like Solid Snake if he was a short person. Yeah, odd. So he's basically going against Widow and giving Flynn a whole bunch of information throughout the story. For example, he gives him tasks to do in order to get him more duels. For example, we have to stop Caitlyn from sneaking in and fixing official tournament records for some reason or another. I'm not really sure. Not really sure why. But anyway, what else? So we get her to duel while Source does his thing. And I like how it's not just getting her to duel. It's also Source telling us that she flies off the handle. So Flynn uses that against her, and it actually works. It's not just, we have to duel. But why? No, we gotta duel. Okay. They actually forces her to challenge us. That's good psychology there. Then we have to stop a spy from spying on Luke and Rebecca for some reason or another. And then after we defeat the monk at the museum, I'm just gonna say this. Darkness Users. Wouldn't a cemetery or something fit better instead of a museum? It's okay. I mean, I guess there's dark, creepy stuff in a museum, so I guess it counts. During said finding the creature pieces, there's two moments I really liked. It's at the school where this guy wants us to sign a petition saying he's the best player ever and he has a darkness piece if we can beat him. He is the most difficult opponent I fought in the game. Main reason? His deck is light in water and it's blocker heavy, which means if you don't have powerful monsters or cards to get rid of his creatures, you're basically at a standstill. I mean, some blockers can attack, but these ones just defend, and it's irritating as shit. Like, 12 times, when I was younger, 12 times I had to beat this guy until I found the right combo of cards in order to work. And even if you lose and you re-challenge him, he says, you could just put your friend's name on the petition. What an arrogant little creep. It makes it weirder that he's standing on the desk or on the chair in the cutscene. And then the card shop, there's one where this kid has a darkness piece and he keeps beating this one guy. And Flynn tells him that's not how strong your cards are, it's how you use them that determine a game. And we get to fight with another guy's deck for once. I like that. Flynn and Trey have the most diverse missions in the game, surprisingly. Because Trey had to fight 3 brothers, and each of them had special rules, and Flynn's using someone else's deck. I love it. I love, because they don't do that in card games. They don't have you do special rules. I mean, some of them do, but not enough. And then when you find Marcus, in order to try to fight him for his pieces, he says no. The only person in a card game that says no to a challenge and actually means it. Give some credit to Duel Masters. When you think they're going to do all the cliches that all card game animes and video games do, they definitely do a twist. So after doing a couple more fighting, you talk to Source and tell him that you need Marcus's card pieces, but he's not. So Source looks into it if you do more work for him. After a while, Source tells you to meet him in the park again, and he just gives you the card pieces. Basically, what he says is that Earl won't battle Trey, so what you do need to do is find a good majority of Trey's Earl's fans, beat them, turn them against him, and force him to fight Trey, which is delightful. I love how Flynn, lurking in the darkness, darkness player, Sources helping him from the shadows. I love that comedic timing. And then after you do that, Source gives you the pieces, saying that he just told Marcus that the widow needed the pieces, and he just gave them to him. I love this game so much. Then after you defeat the monk again, you fight the creature, which looks like a Shakespearean reaper with a ball and chain with claw and a skull in his hand, much like Shakespeare. So, I'll ask poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio. Anyone who knows Shakespeare, there you go. There's one line. So again, after you defeat him, rinse and repeat. Which brings us to my favorite story in the entire game, Luke, the Light Civilization player. The story opens up with him fighting Sarah in a tournament, and it looks like she's about to lose. Sarah is the light user, and oh boy, is she a pain in the ass. She has somewhat of a robotic voice. No, seriously, watch the game on YouTube, listen to the character's voice, and tell me she does not sound a little bit robotic. It's creepy beyond all belief. So before she's about to win, a referee comes and asks to look at his deck, and there's a card that wasn't on his deck list, which was planted in there at some point. So, and because of that, he's disqualified, and he's lost. And because the tournament has strict rules against something like this. I mean, I think all card game tournaments have rules about that. If a card's not in your deck list, you're out. Obviously, Sarah planted that card, and unfortunately, Luke lost his rank, and he cannot attend the Master Tournament. So this story is more about building up Luke's rank from... so you got to duel a lot of people in order to get that rank back. And Sarah kind of does whatever she can to make people believe that you are an actual cheater, even when you're entering the school tournament. But luckily, no one believes her, and I love that. Everyone believes Luke's innocent. And then there was a part where if he gets more duels by joining the Light Civilization group, he can get more fights. Unfortunately, once he defeats the difficult as hell guard dog of a girl, Sarah basically says, as the leader of the Light Civilization, she's kicking him out. And then we go to talk to Knight for a bit. We get our special card, and he says that he wants to, but Sarah keeps kicking him out. Night gives us a little hint about that. We have to find 3 people from the Light Civilization in order to vouch for us. And if we get 3, Sarah either has to step down as leader or challenge him to a duel or accept his challenge. Luckily, Sarah hates it that some people stood up against her, and all 3 of them think she's gone too power hungry. And yeah, it's evident. So after you do that, you fight the monk. Basic stuff. Unfortunately, weirdly enough, Luke is the only one who does not need to find the creature pieces. The monk has all 9 pieces, but Luke needs to be a higher rank in order to fight the creature. So basically, again, we still got to boost up our rank. That's what his story is all about. So we fight more people, and we do the story where we have to do the interclan matches, where we have to go up against one character, one player of every single civilization. And I love that. Because all 4 of them are very, very personality-wise and personality-based, and it's funny as hell. The fire duelist, oh my god. He's a white kid pretending to be a 1940s gangster, saying all his lines in shitty rap. It's almost not too funny not to laugh. And then we fight the nature civilization player at the mall, and she's obsessed with Mighty Shouter. Mighty Shouter. Weak card. And practically every time I played her, she rarely put the card down. And then we fight the darkness player at the card shop, and he's a kid, and he's silent. Silent but deadly? Then we fight the water player at either the library or the school, and I think it's a teacher. And before they play, he keeps talking about all the water-based puns. Turns out the teacher has to go to the bathroom really quick. Comedic timing, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this game does really well. So after you boost up your rank, you're ready to fight the creature. You fight the monk. And the creature is this technological battle weapon that looks like a gate. But it looks really cool. And it talks with a cybernetic voice, which is really cool. But before you can fight, Sarah and the Widow are there saying that Sarah's trying to make Luke look like a cheater, saying that he's not worthy to be in front of the creature. Luke is shocked by this, but the creature pulls a fast one, saying that I'm getting the line right. I love saying this line. Fool, do you not think I cannot read the deceit in your words? Be gone. I love that. A highly intelligent light civilization creature could read the lies in her words and banished her. I'm sorry. This is something that really makes the game unique. It gives each of the creatures its own personality, and it's just so cool. Fighting it is the best, one of my favorite monster fights. And after that, Luke is redeemed. And then once all 5 stories are done, here comes the tournament where you play as each character again in your own civilization bracket. And obviously you will have to fight the Widow's minions once again. And then you gotta fight Widow with one of the characters of your choice. I personally pick Rebecca because she gets to defeat her aunt. There's no real reward if you use a certain character. If this game ever gets remade for whatever reason, put in trophies. Excuse me. Or if some bizarre company decides to remake this game, put more story missions, put more side missions into it. So basically, holy crap, that was Duel Masters Cobalt. And once again, The animation is great. Unfortunately, you can't find this game anywhere else. If you have a PlayStation 2 and you're a fan of Duel Masters and you were able to find one in a discount bin or in a retro game store or online, I say pick it up. Play it. It's gonna be some of the most retro fun you could ever have with a card game. And the story is just great. It's gonna challenge you, even though no one really plays it anymore. So check it out. Because of the animation, because of the story, but because it's 7 hours, and after you beat the game, there's not really much to do outside of arcade mode, it kind of drops some points. The story is enjoyable. The characters are beautifully designed, and they all have their unique personalities, and it's not the stereotypical either. Although, the Darkness player being kind of a nice guy is kind of a flip-flop, but I still love it. So, the final verdict for Duel Masters Cobalt is a 7 out of 10. It's an amazing card game, video game. It's hell of a lot better than some other ones that have made playing the actual card game a pain in the rear, like that chaotic Shadow Warriors, which I never really played because it's barely a card game. It's just fight 'em up. But the entire game is really, really fun. I would play it again if I could hook up my PlayStation 2. You know what? I just might. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the week of April, for the month of April. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and get ready for the beginning of May. It's time for another top 13, and this next list is a little bit criminal. This is GamerK, logging out.